Hi all. Been a little while since I put a video out and found a set of cranks, and I thought they were pretty cheap. And obviously they were pretty cheap for a reason. The power meter inside them wasn't working. So these are a R9200 double-sided Dura-Ace power set of power cranks from Shimano. Yeah, 9200 dual side, and these ones have a little port that goes through the axle, through the bottom bracket. And unlike the 8100 series from Giant, the Power Pro 3s or whatever they are, these don't have the magnetic coupling. Smartly enough, Shimano's actually used the 12-speed power connector for the rear derailleur. Not a fan of that connector for a bunch of reasons, but they have made it multi-purpose for the power cranks that they have produced. Now, pulled everything apart, and it became very obvious very quickly what was going on. Most of the issues around the cap here, and there's two little openings at the top that you can see. That sits in the middle of the spider here, like that. The button there, really nice. Nice rubber feel. Really good feedback on that button. Happy enough with that. The connector, exactly what you find on the rear derailleurs for 105, Ultegra and Dura-Ace. And then obviously the little hole here is, you can just sort of see it down there. There's an LED and the printed circuit board. So the problem with the LED and the printed circuit board is it's a giant hole, so eventually it's just going to fill up full of moisture. Could short something out on the board. So that's one problem here. They've also done a fantastic job just around the seam, plastic welding everything together. So it's impossible to get into this. Now I'm pretty sure the module here is the transmitter for the Bluetooth, Bluetooth LTE, ANT, all that great stuff. And then the schnauzer here on the bottom, the snout, has a little O-ring. Now the O-ring, again, for keeping moisture out of the cranks down in there. The problem with that O-ring is it's a bespoke part, so you can't just go to, Clark Rubber or order a part online. That O-ring, just because of the shape, is unique to this particular device. Don't think it would fail, but it's just a really odd thing to do. Why not just use a round off-the-shelf O-ring, unless you really had to. The other thing just about that snout is, obviously there's a wire or a cable or something that goes down into there. I'm not going to be able to get an image of what's down there because it's just too dark. I don't have the correct lighting. However, you can see the ribbon cable here that goes down. There's a nice bit of machining down there as well. This little shoulder corresponds to the plastic casting on that top. Now the ribbon connector, when I pulled this particular device apart, you can see all the tabs there. They're all looking perfect. They're absolutely perfect working order. There's nothing wrong with that ribbon cable whatsoever. On the back side, it's only single-sided. So that's just the substrate there. And all just the gold pins at the top. That's what makes contact. Now, the outer and the one in from the right, those will be the power pins. And the reason they're going to be the power pins is obviously they're a little bit bigger. And when you charge up the internal battery, they're going to take all the voltage to do that. All the other pins in there are going to take data out of the chips in the load cells, and they're going to send it to the transmit chip back there in the plastic housing with the charge connector in it. Where the problem seems to be coming in is that this is press fit. When you slide the snout from that down into that ribbon, it's just sits free. You can't actually get in there to hold the ribbon to force it into its housing. So as it comes up and needs to be pressed in, the whole thing just folds like that. Now, obviously Shimano wouldn't have sold them like this from the factory, but over time, you know, they'll test it at factory. They'll make sure it's working and it's reading, you know, semi-accurately. But it's a matter of time before that thing's going to fail. It's not if it's going to fail. 90% of these are going to fail at some point out in the field. Unfortunately, Shimano seems to have done it again. This set of cranks, along with all the other cranks that they've had, whoever they've got working in their cranks team needs to go find another job or something, I don't know. This is probably not repairable, which is really sad to say, because I actually quite like the Shimano cranks. I've got 8100 power meter on that bike, and I've got an 8100 power meter on that bike as well. And you know, to have a set of Dura-Ace cranks that are worth $1,800 Australian, yeah, they're probably $1,200 US. You know, and the power meter function just not working. You've just taken more than $1,000 off the value of this particular device. And it's, if you need power, it's, you know, going to sit in the toolbox, never to see the light of day, or it's going to go into the round filing cabinet. And it's just a real shame that there's no repairability on this at all. So that's all from that. Yeah, and if I ever come across little bits and pieces like that again, I will make little videos. So yeah, stay safe on the road, everyone, and I'll catch you next time.